Having just completed 4 new tracks for my newest musical project, Detra Cortina, first single by the way drops this Friday, February 25th, links down below. Having just finished that project, I wanted to share my recording setup, as it was pretty minimal for the most part. Let's face it, someone will have something to say about the definition of minimal in this instance, but it. Let's go over my setup. First of all, why? Some of you who follow me may be wondering why I decided to go with this particular setup, knowing that I have a functioning studio space. Well, there's a few reasons. Number one, I work from home about 70 to 80% of the time, and I have kids and a family and dogs, so it's not really conducive for me to be holed up downstairs in the basement all day. So during the hardcore work from home phase, when we weren't doing any traveling for work, I created a workspace so that I could A, work upstairs amongst the sunlight and be around the pooches so they didn't get all separation anxiety and whatnot. The second reason is it's cold as shit downstairs in my basement, and I am a real bitch when it comes to the cold. That in and of itself is enough reason as far as I'm concerned. And I guess the third reason, and while working upstairs amongst all the chaos of the family and everyday life can be a bit distracting, it does allow me to pivot, take breaks, jump back into work, interact with my wife, my kids, the dogs, all at a moment's notice, which can be nice. But also, yes, it can be distracting. But you gotta look at the positives, man. Okay, what is this setup? What does my minimal setup consist of? I guess minimal compared to my full kind of rigged out studio space downstairs. It's minimal. It's mostly on the go. You'll see. Let's get into the details. At the center, the brains of the operation is my Apple MacBook Air M1. First gen M1, base model MacBook Air. Not enough internal SSD space, but that's neither here nor there. I got solutions for that. But that's the brains of this whole thing. On said Apple MacBook Air M1, I am running PreSonus Studio 1.5. I have a Sonnet Thunderbolt 4 hub, which helps with the expansion, but also comes with its own little quirks and headaches. I have 2 external drives plugged into this thing. I have a Samsung T7, which is my main creative and project external SSD. It holds all my music, all my creative assets, stuff like that. And then I have a SanDisk external NVMe SSD, and it carries all of my sample libraries, my tune track libraries, VST libraries, all my samples, everything that a virtual instrument pulls from, all the PreSonus stock instruments and samples. It is all on the SanDisk external NVMe SSD. Got it? Now, plugged into that is my Line 6 HX Stomp. You guys know what it is and what it does, and the only notable mention for this project is that the preset I used, my personal preset, I decided to go with using York Audio impulse responses, and I think they sound amazing, and I got some amazing tones for both guitar and bass using it on this project. With the Stomp, I used it as the audio interface for all of the guitar tracking. So I tracked via USB straight into the MacBook and recorded all the guitars and the bass that way. Everything via USB, simple setup. Once I began to mix and dive into that, I implemented and added on my Universal Audio Apollo Twin Gen 1. I've had that thing forever. Again, at the mixing stage, I implemented that because I wanted to be able to jack up the block size and also maybe take advantage of some of the very few Universal Audio plugins I do have. I didn't end up using any on the mix, but you know, when I'm mixing, I get creative. I play around with different plugins. I wanted the headroom, so I started using the Apollo Twin as my interface at the mixing stage. Again, as you can see with this setup, I have an external monitor. For work, I do a lot of editing, video editing. I do a lot of graphics, After Effects stuff, more and more of that. Basically, I'm also blind, so an external monitor for me is like a no-brainer. I have a 32-inch 4K Samsung monitor. It's a really, really good monitor. I'm enjoying it so far. That you don't need that in this situation. It's not necessary. It's just, you know, creature comfort for us blind old idiots. And finally, as for the instruments I used my Solar Guitars A1.6 Artist, my #1 go-to, my first Solar. This is all over this entire album. And for bass, I used my Squier Jaguar bass, the same one that you've heard on 99% of all of my music. And that's it. And in summary, all you really need is the MacBook or a computer, a laptop, any laptop. You can use the HX Stomp as your interface and track through that, and an instrument, and you're good to go. I suppose it is worth noting, I did most/all of my mixing through headphones. I did monitor through different sources, my hi-fi system, my car, various different speakers, etc., etc., etc. I mixed most of this with my Beyerdynamics DT990 Pros and my Beyerdynamics DT700 Pro X's. Kind of switch back and forth. I find switching headphones and stuff like that through the mix just to get a vibe of how it sounds on different, platforms helps me a little bit, helps me identify different things. I also use a Sonarworks Sound ID, also previously known as Reference. It corrects your headphones to make them flatter. I've got a video on it. Yeah. So yeah, that's it. Pretty simple, pretty straightforward. I'm really excited about this new project. I would really, really appreciate it if you followed Detra Cortina over on Instagram. Links will be down below. I also have the Bandcamp page set up for it. The first single drops February 25th, this coming Friday. It is also up on the Bandcamp page. You can preview it a few times, but it will be on full release, the first single, on the 25th, and I will be subsequently releasing each of the 4 singles until the 4th single, which will then be the release of the EP. So thank you guys so much for all of your support up to this point and for helping me and supporting this new project I'm working on. It really means a lot to me. Special shout out to those of you who are supporting me over on Patreon and of course here as members on YouTube. And if you're looking for other ways to support me, head over to That Music, follow Detra Cortina, follow Nick Hill, follow Wells. Those are the 3 major projects I have. All of my music is for sale on Bandcamp and of course streaming everywhere music is streamed. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you got something out of this. Take care of yourself, be useful to someone. We'll see you in the next one.